Secretary, please call the roll.
Ellen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Canella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgiani, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Hueso, Huff, Jackson, Lara, Leno, Leyva, Liu, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morell, Wynn, Nielsen, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Stone, Vidak, Wykowski, Wolk.
Members, we are absent a quorum. Please report to the Senate chambers so that we can begin. Sergeants, please call the absent members to the Senate chambers. Thank you. Please report to the Senate chambers. A quorum is present. Would the members and our guests be on the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this morning by our guest chaplain, Dr. Reverend Pamela Anderson, Trinity Episcopal, Sacramento. After which, please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Stone.
There's a great line in the movie The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel that says, "Everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, then it's not yet the end." Would you please pray with me? Eternal and loving God, There are many Californians who have lost hope, who have lost heart, who have lost their way due to economics, job loss, health concerns, and multiple other reasons. And it is our prayer that the deliberations that are discussed in these chambers today will help every Californian know to the core of their being that everything will be all right in the end. This prayer we pray. Amen.
Privileges of the floor. Members, are there announcements that you would like to bring up or resolutions? Senator Huff. Members, may I have your full attention at this time? Everyone, please give your attention to Senator Huff. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to honor the birthday of one of California's greatest governors and one of the country's greatest presidents. Tomorrow, February 6th, marks the birthday of President Ronald Reagan. He would have turned 104 tomorrow and holds a special spot in our history as the only California governor to have become president. Reagan was 33rd governor of California, served as the 40th president, and was known as the great communicator, often using word pictures to drive his message home. One of the things he said to Walter Mondale, he said, "I think we all remember that the other side's promises are a little like Minnie Pearl's hat. They both have big price tags hanging from them," which he said about a lot of other clever things, too. Best known for ending the Cold War, treated the nation's air traffic controllers a little differently. But I have a personal memory of Ronald Reagan. As a young man, I came up to the state for Boys State, and being one of the 15 that brought instruments, I was honored the privilege of marching him in to make his speech to our gathering, and then marching him out. Then two of us stopped his limo, he rolled down his window and signed our autographs after shaking our head, and it made a big impression on a young, impressionable high schooler. But in 2006, Reagan was inducted into the California Hall of Fame. His statue is now in Statuary Hall in Congress, thanks to action we took some years ago. Just want you all to remember our great governor and president, and please remember him tomorrow, February 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Huff. Members, can I have it quiet on the floor, please? If you have a conversation, please take it out to the hall. Thank you. Senator Hertzberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purpose of making an introduction to some very important guests we have here in the Senate gallery, Madam President. Our United States State Department operates a very prestigious program entitled the International Visitors Leadership Program. Each of the U.S. embassies around the world designate leaders who they think are exemplary to participate, to come to Washington, and to come to this program. It is quite prestigious. They are here exploring best practices with a particular focus, Senators, in large part on ethical practices with an emphasis on transparency and accountability. Today we have with us legislators, academics, journalists from 22 different countries around the planet here under the auspices of the United States State Department. With permission, Madam President, I'd like to quickly introduce them, each by their country, who's here today.
Please proceed.
Thank you. From Brazil, Mr. Mauricio Savarse. Please welcome him. From Bulgaria, Ms. Adante Ateza. From Colombia, Mr. Nicolas Barrio Rubio. From Croatia, Mr. Davor Bernardic. From Ethiopia, Mr. Adim Ibrahim. From Ghana, Mr. Solomon Meha. From Indonesia, Mr. Abdul Mehan. From Kenya, Mr. Anthony Ichangwa. From Liberia, Mr. Michael Kwabo. From Lithuania, Mr. Domas Petrulis. From Malaysia, Ms. Diana Sofia Madrid Daoud. From Mozambique, Mr. Jose Nicolas from Nepal, Mr. Tanaka Arya. From Nigeria, Mr. Ibrahim Abdullah Suni. From Serbia, Mr. Ogun Pantelik. From Somalia, Mr. Saeed Mohammed. From Suriname, Dr. Ine Apopole. From Taiwan, Mr. Benny Liao. From Tanzania, Mr. Alex Mijeni. From Tunisia, Mr. Wassem Misohai. From Ukraine, Ms. Ala Volshia. And from Zimbabwe, a member of the legislature, also Mr. Godfrey Sihole. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome these distinguished guests from around the world to the California State Senate and to the People's Republic of California. Thank you so much.
We welcome you, and we hope you have very good luck with all the business that you came to do today. Thank you. Members, further privileges of the floor? Other resolutions or announcements? Seeing none. Messages from the governor will be deemed read. Messages from the assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Motions, resolutions, and notices. Members, are there any motions, resolutions, or notices? Motion to approve Senate journals. Without objection, the Senate journals for February 2nd through February 5th, 2015 will be approved as corrected by the minute clerk. Seeing and hearing no further motions and resolutions or notices. Senate third reading. I'm sorry, introduction and first reading of bills. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 166, Senate Bill 167, Senate Bill 168, Senate Bill 169, Senate Bill 170, Senate Bill 171.
Consideration of the daily file. Senate third reading. Item 1, SR 5, Senator Gaines. Not at his desk. Item 2, SCR 6, Senator Monning. Pass on file. Item 3 and 4, Senator Fuller will be passed on file. Item 5, Senator Huff will be passed on file. Item 6, Senator Fuller will be passed on file. Item 7, SCR 13, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President, and members. I rise today to
Secretary, please read. I'm sorry. And also, I'm still having a little trouble with the noise level in the room. It's difficult for the desk to hear, and we'd like to give Senator Jackson our full attention after we have this bill read. Please proceed, Secretary.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 13 by Senator Jackson relative to American Heart Month and Wear Red Day in California.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I rise today to present Senate Concurrent Resolution 13 in recognition of the 12th National Wear Red for Women Day. And I thank all of you who are in your bright red colors for bringing red today to help bring awareness to heart disease and its impact on women, something that for many years and generations, actually, we simply ignored. And part of the reason was that doing studies on women and heart disease were deemed to be too complicated because women's bodies were just too complicated. This is seriously the excuses that were given for not studying women and heart disease. Well, we know better now. And today, the state capitol goes red. Tomorrow, February 6th, America goes red. For 12 years, women have been fighting heart disease together as part of the Go Red for Women movement. But the fight is far from over. Heart disease is still the #1 killer of women. Each year, 1 in 3 women die of heart disease and stroke. It is more deadly than all forms of cancer combined. In California, an average of 100 women per day die from heart disease and stroke. Since 1984, more women than men have died from heart disease. And the gap between men and women's survival continues to widen. Yet women comprise only 24% of participants in all heart disease-related studies. Not great, but certainly better than what it was just a decade ago, and hopefully we will continue so that the disease and its impacts on women are properly researched so that we can address them. 90% of women have one or more risk factors for developing heart disease. Yet, 80% of heart disease and stroke events can be prevented. And I think this is the important message. We can prevent most heart disease. Women, interestingly enough, are less likely to call 911 for themselves when they're having a heart event than they are for someone else who's having a heart attack. Part of this is we don't educate ourselves to the fact that the same symptoms that men experience and we know is potentially a heart attack, we also experience and yet do nothing about it. There are some symptoms, however, that are different, and we need to educate ourselves on what those are. Awareness and lifestyle change has led to a 30% decrease in women's deaths from heart disease in the past decade, and it is important for women to know our blood pressure and cholesterol numbers, live a healthy lifestyle, realize our risk, and keep speaking up to continue the fight against heart disease. So today, colleagues, from 8:30 to noon, Sutter Heart and Vascular Institute is here giving members and staff blood pressure and health screenings and providing healthy snacks in room 444. And after session, I would invite all the women, and I think a few of the men want to check it all out too. We'd love to have you. Heart disease is a killer for all of us. It is preventable in so many instances. We can do more to take care of ourselves and our families, and I would ask you to join with me in support of this resolution.
For the debate or discussion, Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I stand today as a member of the California Legislative Black Caucus and as the Women's Caucus to also recognize the disproportionate number of women of color, African-American women, unfortunately at the top of the heap, who suffer from various forms of heart disease. And the whole point of Wear Your Red Dress Day is to acknowledge the fact that we simply don't know it. Only 43% of African-Americans know that heart disease is their greatest health risk, and 50% of Black women know the signs and symptoms of a heart attack, while nearly 10% of all African-American women across age groups have coronary heart disease. So again, it's our responsibility, I think, as leaders of the state, leaders in our community, to acknowledge that it is the leading cause of death for women, it's the leading cause of death for Black women, and that women have to educate themselves. Institutions have to be educated. Symptoms in women often present differently. You don't typically have the sharp shooting pains. And so we have to be aware, and so women can get the early care and intervention they need that can make all the difference in saving one's life. So I ask for your support for SCR 13.
Thank you, Senator Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise as the Vice Chair of the Latino Caucus in support of SCR 13 due to the disproportionate effects that heart disease has on Hispanic women. On average, Hispanic women are more likely to develop heart disease, and they develop it 10 years earlier than non-Hispanics. So they're more apt to get it sooner, and they're more inclined not to be aware of heart disease as a scourge on women. So this is an important matter to bring attention to heart disease in our community and get people to understand that it's treatable, preventable, and that they need to be fully informed about a disease that affects 1 in 4 Hispanic women. We're talking about a very high prevalence of this condition in the Hispanic community. So I am proudly wearing red today to help raise awareness on this important issue, and I thank Senator Jackson for bringing it forward.
Any further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Jackson, would you like to close?
I want to thank everyone for their attention. Ask that you bring this home to your districts, that we continue the conversation as tomorrow is the official celebration day throughout the state and country, and urge your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? Aye. Bates? Aye. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? Block? Canella? DeLeon? Aye. Fuller?
Aye.
Aye. Gaines? Aye. Galgiani? Aye. Hall? Hancock? Hall, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Hueso? Aye. Huff? Aye. Jackson? Aye. Lada? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leyva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morrell? Aye. Wynn? Aye. Nielsen? Aye. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Stone? Aye. Vidak? Aye. Wykowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members. Oh, it is, okay.